Hey, how are you guys doing? How are you guys doing? Thank you, as always, so much for tuning into another awesome episode here at Brian's Place. As always, I greatly appreciate you rocking and rolling with me. And definitely feel free to like, subscribe, and comment. Want this to be an interactive podcast as always. So, as always, I already know y'all can show your love and support. So, I appreciate you. So, hope you guys are doing great. So, the reason I titled this Identity Matters to TOO, because I previously talked about this subject. I want to say back in August, I did an episode entitled Identity Matters. So, this is Identity Matters too. Um, as my pastor Jones always says, I um I won't be on here too long, but I will be on here long enough. So just want to share something that was on my heart to share, and kind of a follow up of the first video I did. So here goes. So identity matters too. Identity matters too. As most of you are familiar, the story of Adam and Eve and their in the garden in Genesis chapter 3 and 4. And as I've previously shared, so um, the serpent said to Eve, "If you eat of this fruit, you will surely be like God." He told her, "If you eat this fruit, you'll be like God." And the unfortunate thing was that, in a way, Eve was already like God because she was created in God's image. Adam and Eve were created in God's image. We are created in God's image. But because she did not know who she was, she allowed the serpent's suggestive words about her to become her truth and her reality. Have y'all ever played that game, Two Truths and a Lie, where like you have to guess, or like a person makes three statements, and one of those statements, or two of those statements is true, and one of those statements is not true. So you have to guess which one is not true. For instance, it's like me saying, I've been to the moon. I was born in Torrance, California. And I don't know, I used to choose which restaurant I would go to based on the dessert menu. So, guess. So, I've been to the moon. Um, I was born in Torrance, California. And I used to choose which restaurant I would go to based on their dessert menu. By the way, I have a sweet tooth, so. But yeah, obviously, I have not gone to the moon, but I haven't been there, so that obviously is the lie. And the truth, of course, are that I was born in Torrance, California, and I did very much so used to choose which restaurant I would go to based on their dessert menu. Sweet teeth, not just a sweet tooth, sweet teeth. 36 teeth back. I've I've definitely gotten better about that. So yeah, but two truths and a lie. So in stating that, I want to encourage you not to allow someone else's opinion of you to become your truth. Don't allow someone's opinion or lie about you to become your truth or to become your reality. That's so important because people may say, "Oh, you should do this. No, you'd be great doing this. You're this. You're this. You'll never do this. No, never do that." And if you take their words into consideration, it could change how you see yourself. Because if you've noticed, all it takes is one drop of food coloring to change a whole um, color of the gallon of water. One drop of food coloring. So don't allow one drop of someone else's opinion or lie about you to become your truth. Who was that? Was that Taylor Swift or someone said shake it off? Someone, I don't know. But anywho, um, don't allow someone else's opinion of you to become your truth. And so moving right along, a bird can fly because it understands and knows what it was created to do. Do you know what you were created to do? Do you know what you were created to do? So get this, y'all. Get this. One way to find out what you were created to do is to find out what you weren't created to do. Let me say that again. One way to find out what you were created to do is to find out what you were not created to do. You see, when you know what something was created for, and what its intended purpose is, there's a less likely chance of you misusing it. So it's like, on that note, when you can fully grasp and understand your value, there's a less likely chance of either you misusing yourself, and there's a less likely chance of you allowing others to misuse you because you understand the value of you. Just like with I was telling a good friend this the other day with china plates. Most people keep china in a separate china cabinet because they understand the value of the china plate. They understand the value of a china plate is way more than a value of a paper plate or a value or a regular plate. So because their understanding of the value of it, they set it aside. And so when you understand your value, you will watch who you allow into your life. When you understand your value, you will watch how you allow people to treat you. Real talk. You ever like encounter someone and they do something or they say something that wasn't kind of cool, and they'd be like, "Oh, I was just playing. I was just playing," and it's like, nah, you say you're just playing, but out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So that had to come from somewhere. So it's just interesting, when people say, "Oh, I'm just playing," that's like just a general cover up. It's like, no, maybe there was, you were serious about what you're saying. So it's like, but understanding your value is important. Understanding your value is so important. So you don't put dishes in the refrigerator, right? A refrigerator is used to keep things cool, right? Dishes go in a dishwasher. Simple, right? Everything, I believe, everything and everyone has an intended purpose. So you guys see this light, right? So I understand the light bulb is used um, to bring light into a room that would otherwise be a little dark. Of course, if I unless I open the blinds. But I understand that the light bulb is not to eat with. It's not used to wash dishes with. So because I understand its purpose and the value of it, I'm not. It keeps me from misusing it. You know. So I'm able to use it as it was intended for. And so, kind of switching to identity. A football player isn't a football player who happens to be a man, but first and foremost, he's a man who happens to be a football player. And I've noticed that many times people identify themselves with what they do. They'll be like, "Hi, yes, I'm John. I'm an electrician." And it's like, I understand what you mean, but your identity can't be tied into what you do, because if that's the case, what happens when you stop doing what you do? Does that mean your identity lessens? You see what I'm saying? So it's like you are a it's like you are not a teacher who happens to be a person, but you're a person who happens to be a teacher. You are not a football player who happens to be a man. You are a man who happens to be a football player. You are not an electrician whose name who happens to be John, but you are John who happens to be an electrician. Does that make sense? I really hope it does. So hope some of this is soaking in. And it's important that you know who you are, because when you know who you are, you can't easily be shaken. You know, you can't easily you know who you are and what you were intended to operate in, and you know where your confidence comes from. I'm always reminded of the story when in the Bible when David went out to battle and Saul gave him his armor. He was like, "Here, put on this. You need this to fight. You need this helmet to fight." And I imagine David was like, "Oh, this is too heavy. I can't do this." So he took it off because he understand that what worked for someone else didn't work for him. And so likewise, it's important that you don't get to the point where you're trying to please others so much to the point where you're trying to put on the garment of what they think you should wear, the garment of how they feel you should walk, and then you have on all these garments of what others think you should do. But it's like, no, you need to take those off and really tap into like your true self, tap into who you know you are supposed to be, who you know God has created you to be. And that's like so important. For real. It's like me, for instance. I'm not walking here in circles wondering, what was I born to do? Huh? Should I be a basketball player, an astronaut, a teacher, an electrician? Should I be a bag person at the grocery store? It's like, no, hold up. It's like, I know whose I am. And when I tap into whose I am, then I discover what God has purposed me to do. I discover God has purposed me to be a motivational speaker, life coach, podcaster, playwright, published author, minister, um, counselor. So it's like when you know who you are, you can walk in that. You don't have to try to, as I was saying, you don't have to put on the garments of other people's opinions. It's like, nah, that's not that's not on the agenda for 2023. It's like, nah, you gotta, the time is now. You gotta walk in what God has called you to walk in. No regrets about it. People got a problem with that? Tell them take it up with God. Real talk. And so again, excuse me. Do you know your identity? Not what others say about you, but do you know what God has spoken over you? Do you know not only what He's spoken over you, but do you know what He's spoken into you? Do you know the gifts and treasures He has placed in you? And if not, why not take some time to press the pause button, to be still, and to find out what He's placed in you? You know, whatever you were busy doing before, that can wait. What's important is you tapping into what God has placed in you. Someone once said that the world's richest place is a cemetery. Someone once said that the world's richest place is the cemetery because it's full of all the people who never tapped into their $1 million idea. So why not be determined to, you know, to not let that be the case with you, you know? Um, so yeah, just something to think about and ponder on. And again, purpose. The purpose of a bank and the purpose of a car wash are different. I've never seen a bank try to operate as a car wash, and I've never seen a car wash to, try to operate as a bank. It understands its purpose. So, just a quick word: your identity matters too. Find out whose you are, find out who you are, and find out what God has placed in you. Walk in it. I always say, walk in your gifts like the world depended on it, because it does. So, just a short word of encouragement. Y'all be blessed. As always, this is BDP, Brian David Porter, living in purpose, on purpose, intentionally. Until next time, you guys be blessed. Love y'all to life.